Okay, right. So, hello everybody. I'll introduce myself and then I'll introduce Lorna. So, I'm Katie from Songbird Hypnotherapy and I'm a hypnotherapist and psychotherapist. And this is the lovely Lorna who has been working with me for a while now. So, we're going to have just a chat today about your sessions and how you found everything and what you've achieved. So, if you just want to start telling everybody, Lorna, why you chose to start sessions in the first place.
Yeah, that's fine. So I've basically been pretty much overweight all my life. I was always sort of the fat kid at school, and it sort of then just continued through and into life. So what I found really is that I was sort of trying to escape thinking about weight loss all the time. And so then because I was never really focused on it, I just continued to pile on the weight. And then probably about 6 months ago-ish, I stumbled across your page on an advert on Facebook, I think I saw.
Yeah.
And initially I was sort of got in contact for a friend of mine that was going through some other issues, and then noticed that you dealt with weight management, and that's where my journey started.
Yeah, I can't remember, was it about May, I think, so it probably was about roughly about 6 months ago now. So yeah, you came for help with weight management, which is what we've been working on. So before you started sessions, did you have any expectations of how sessions were going to go? What did you expect?
So I'd watched a couple of the videos before I contacted you on your page anyway, to sort of get an understanding as what hypnotherapy was. Expectations, I think when I first had the first session with you, I just said, I'm pretty open-minded, I'm willing to give anything a go. And I didn't really know, honestly, much about it. So I think from the first sessions, I didn't really know what I was going to get out of it. But the results have literally spoke for themselves since we started.
Oh, okay. So we've gone on to results then. So when do you think you first started seeing results then, and what did you see?
I think the first couple of sessions I was a bit like, we've not talked about calories, we've not talked about weight, we've not talked about anything like that. And normally when you've been to like all the big brand different dietitians and all the different things that are out there, the first thing they do is put you on a set of scales and sort of put you into that shame mode, and then sort of give you a list of do's and don'ts. And I was a bit like, oh, so we're not doing any of that. So I was a bit like, wonder how this is going to work. But yeah, no, I think I first started seeing results probably from about week 3 or 4.
Okay.
And I think that was when I sort of got my head round how it was going to work, and the sort of things that we covered off in the session. And then I feel since then, I've pretty much, as you know, either lost weight week in, week out, or maintained, which to me is still a loss because I haven't put anything on, which has sort of helped and carried on. So yeah, it's pretty much been anything. I think some of my best weeks I probably lost 2 or 3 pounds, and then I think at my worst weeks I've sort of maintained.
Yeah, brilliant. So do you want to explain a little bit about the not talking about weight, because everyone that's watching will probably be thinking, as you were at the beginning, well, that's a bit weird. So what have you learned then that you didn't know before about kind of your weight management and what you've learned throughout the process? And just explain why, well, you know now why we haven't talked about weight, if you want to touch on that a little bit.
So I think when we had the first couple of sessions, I was really sort of flippant, and I went, oh no, I'm an emotional eater. And I sort of like, let's just stick that label on it and I'll just leave it there. So I think I knew deep down I was an emotional eater, but I didn't actually realize what emotions drove me to eat randomly. So I think throughout our sessions, and as we've talked about sort of the sort of general stresses in life and the things that are going on, and about how behind the scenes you've got like a bucket that gets filled up, and then what we've started to do is unload the bucket on each and every session. And we've just honestly dealt with, I suppose, really on face value, some really trivial things that you'd be like, why didn't I see that myself? But until you realize that actually you've probably got about 20 or 30 things in this bucket just bobbing around. And then the minute the bucket fills right at the top and starts to splash out, I go, I'm going to eat that chocolate bar, or I'm going to eat that bag of crisps, or do you know what, I'm just going to eat the whole cake. And I think then, because I was doing that, I then got that rush of good hormones that everybody gets, And then you think, oh, well, actually, do you know what? That's made me feel better. So because I feel better, that will now be my way of behaving when I feel a certain way. So whenever I would get sort of stressed or anxious or upset about something, I would make myself feel better by eating something. And then that emotion would kick in that would make me feel happy. And then, if I'm honest with you, over 35, 40 years of that learnt behaviour, that just became normal.
Yeah, so you've learned that understanding, haven't you? And we've obviously talked a lot about the stress bucket, what you've gone through there, and all your hormones, etc., and how that comes into play. So hopefully you've now got that to take forward of you, and as you can say, you can recognise what was making you want to eat, and now we've reduced that stress. You've found it a lot easier, haven't you, to stay on top of managing things. And you've never, whilst you've been working with me, you haven't been on a really strict diet, have you? You haven't been on a really strict exercise routine. You have just managed your lifestyle and managed your stresses in life and all of that. You haven't been on any huge drastic.
No, there's been no sort of no, nothing at all. There's been no real change to anything I was eating before. I think the only thing that's really happened is by having the sessions, it's helped me deal with things that I was sort of tucking away. And then I also feel like it's helped me to realise that I don't need food to give me that good feeling.
Yeah.
By having a straighter life and by being more balanced. And do you know what? Weirdly now, like I've said to you a few times before, I never thought that I would get enjoyment out of just going to walk the dog.
Yeah.
But I actually get the same feeling by walking the dog as what I used to get from getting a chocolate bar, because it's now my time where I go out and I walk, just me and him, and I think about the things that I need to empty out my bucket, tick a few things off my list. And then because I've achieved that, I then am happier in myself, in my home life, in my work life. And then all of those things inevitably have led me not to eat the wrong things or eat too much, which has then fixed the weight loss issue without talking about a calorie, a number, or a don't eat this or a do eat that, or you can only live on lettuce or only drink water. Never had that conversation at all.
I think you summed it up perfectly there, really, with everything that you've said. You have had quite a few sessions. I mean, I think now you're on about 20 odd, which well, I'll say to everybody, like, that is probably slightly more than average, but you've decided to carry that on yourself, haven't you? Like, I know that you could have easily gone out and finished sessions a couple of months ago, and I know that you'd be absolutely fine and you'd maintain it, but you've chosen to just carry it on, haven't you, fortnightly, just for the accountability side of it, and that's just something that you've chosen to do.
I think we had sort of an honest and frank conversation, and you were really open and said, you know what, you probably don't need it and you know yourself well enough. But I feel like for me, I've just, at the moment, I'm not ready to let go of the sessions, purely because I like the extra time that we get to go through some normal life stuff. And I want to make sure that all of my good behaviours and all of the different mindset techniques are really embedded. Yeah. And I think, like you said, it literally makes me accountable. It just makes me think, do you know what? In a couple of weeks' time, I'm going to catch in with Katie. If I've got anything pending, so obviously job interviews and, you know, like, or I've got like an unexpected bill or something's come up that I'm not coping with at home, all those things I can just sort of go, do you know what? I know they're in my bucket. I know they're bobbing away. But in 2 weeks' time, I know that I'll be able to talk it through with somebody. And also, it gives me that time to process it myself. So like when me and you meet, I've probably got the answer. I just need a little bit of help getting to it.
Yeah, exactly. And at the same time, though, you know, it's not been a quick fix, has it? It's not been, you know, a one session thing. As you said, it's taken you time to embed those habits, and with weight management, that can be a slightly longer thing to do. I think many people do kind of presume that you can have one session of hypnotherapy and you'll magically lose 3 stone, but it doesn't work like that, does it? You know, you've had to put in work as well, and you've made little changes every week which have actually added up to be huge changes for you. So
I think the couple of things that I've said to friends and family that have asked and have noticed, they're like, recent weight loss, I think I've been more honest and said, you know what, it's taken me a lifetime to put the weight on.
Yeah.
I don't expect that 2 or 3 sessions are going to shift a lifetime's worth of habits. Do you see what I mean? So I think, like you said, if you put the work in, if you stick the distance, then personally I've had results, and I can't see why other people wouldn't.
Yeah, no, you're exactly right, and I think you're a really amazing example of putting in the commitment. You are, because you have, you've turned up every week or fortnight. You've done little steps yourself. You've put in commitment. You've not expected it to be a quick thing, and you've worked hard. And I think something that you said to me that's really nice is that if you tell me you're going to do something, you would never not go and do it. So that just shows like your commitment to the process, and that's what you've got to have, and you've seen results.
Yeah, and I think like over the years gone by, when I've been in different clubs and different weight loss programs and all the bits and bobs that I've done, and I've been through the NHS and had all those types of journeys, when I sit and look at all of those, I remember thinking, and I bet a lot of people that watch will have the same memories, that you do really well for a couple of weeks, something goes wrong, so then you put on some weight and you're like, oh, do you know what, I'll just forget it. Whereas I think because every session, it's not about what I've eaten last week, it's not about how many calories, it's not about how much I weigh. In fact, I don't think in any session you've ever said to me, oh, how much did you weigh this week? Or in fact, I think you've gone to me, don't get on the scales, you're doing it too often. I remember those conversations at the beginning, and I feel like now it's more of the vibe I get is I sort of come for a session open-minded with some bits on my page that I want to work through. We get that done. I leave with a really empty bucket every fortnight, and then it sort of semi fills up and I empty it a bit myself, and then I feel like by the next fortnight comes round, I feel much more calmer and much more able to cope with anything that might come up.
Oh, yeah, no, you've done really, really well, and I think I don't need to ask you anything else, because I think you've summed up everything to everybody perfectly. So yeah, thank you very much, Lorna, and
thank you.
It's great chatting to you, and see you soon. Thank you.
Take care.
Bye.